and then making us finance kind of like a new IMF World Bank boondoggle, but through the vehicle of GM.
And it's worth noting that, GM is obviously not the only bankruptcy we've had going on. We've had major bankruptcies of major chains, everything from Linens and Things to Circuit City. And the rule is that if you can't get financing to keep your operation running during the bankruptcy proceeding, then you've got to liquidate, and that's the end of it. So Circuit City and Linens and Things, and a lot of these companies couldn't get that financing, so they liquidated.
Stay there. We got a break. And then now on top of it, they're saying they're going to bail out the media. That means merging with the government. And ABC News is announcing they're getting fully behind socialized health care and will now become an organ officially of the White House. That's a headline at Infowars.com. We've got the author Thomas Woods on ThomasWoods.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back. TomWoods.com is the website. He is a New York Times bestselling author of multiple books. Meltdown, a free market look at why the stock market collapsed, the economy tanked, and government bailouts will make things worse. Okay, I'm going to try to sit back. One of the fellows at Von Mises Institute with Ron Paul. I want to sit back and let you break it down from your perspective, but I just want to throw out, what do you think of this hoax of Newsweek and others saying that we're all socialists now and that this is socialism? Socialism, I think, is bad enough, but supposedly some of the stolen money goes to the poor. This is offshore corporations looting us and sanguinating us and sucking us dry. This is not socialism we're seeing. Isn't this just highway robbery or piracy that's going on, sir? Yeah, it seems to me that I wouldn't even want to dignify it with a word. Other than looting or whatever. There's no economic philosophy behind it. It's just whatever economic rationale they try to put forth for it is just a cover for looting the population in broad daylight. And they must really get a good laugh out of how easy it is, how they're getting away with it, and how they've got the media in their pockets that just echoes all the rationales that, for instance, we hear things like systemic risk, that, we got to bail out these bankers because, heaven knows if one of these institutions failed, then the others would fail, and then we'd all be reduced to crawling around eating worms. But in fact, there was an article 2 or 3 years ago in something called the Journal of Financial Economics that went through all these arguments and concluded that this whole systemic risk thing is totally overblown, that the actual systemic risk is about zero. This is basically just a convenient pretext for politicians when they're shoveling money to their friends. They can cover it by saying, oh, no, I'm just acting for the common good. I'm acting for you people to maintain the system. Come on. Meanwhile, the 10-year note's going up. Mortgage rates are going up in reality. They can cut rates down to zero. Reality setting in. They're saying, other economists, I don't know what your view is, are saying we're at 18, 19% real employment. How long can this charade go on? Well, I'm surprised it's gone on as long as it has, but you're right. I think your unemployment statistics are far more accurate than the phony baloney ones cooked up by the government that they've been manipulating for years. If you really compare our situation with the 1970s and you compute the unemployment statistics the way they did, we're already at or above 20%. Because one of the things they did, I'm sure you already know this, is in the 80s and 90s, they got rid of the discouraged worker, which means if you've been looking for a job and you're looking and you just figure this is totally hopeless and you just stop, you figure it's not even worth bothering, they don't count you as being unemployed. So the millions of people that moved in with mommy and daddy, or parents that moved in with their kids, or homeless people, they just don't count those. No, they don't count them. So in other words, when you're hearing that the official statistic has it at 9.4% unemployment, you can believe the reality is at least double that. And then it doesn't factor in all the part-time workers. And so it is essential for us to get where this comes from. Why does this happen to us? Because, of course, we're being told that, well, it just goes to show that when your overlords aren't running everything, this is what happens, and you stupid rubes didn't listen to us. That whole thing is becoming the conventional wisdom. Exactly. They're saying you need bigger overlords. That will fix it, when it's the very overlords that did it. And so it's so funny when the German Chancellor Merkel
said, it's like when they occasionally say something sensible, they have to immediately follow it up with something disastrous. So she said, the central banks have really done a rotten job. Hey, great so far. And then she goes on to say, therefore, we need to have a giant coordination of all the central banks. No, that's the exact opposite direction we want to go in. We should be wanting to shut these things down. And this is what Austrian theory teaches. It's what Hayek won the Nobel Prize for. It is they who get the economy hopped up on these unsustainable booms that then ruin people's lives when the bust comes. But during the boom, we're all told that, hey, this prosperity is going to go on forever. Everybody should get into the stock market. And everybody starts thinking that, you can get rich quick through all this. And meanwhile, you wind up getting wiped out. And it's about time Americans realize this is not the free market looting you. It is Alan Greenspan and Ben Bernanke and his friends. And, when Alan Greenspan said earlier this year, he said, I guess there's a flaw in the free market that I hadn't noticed before. Yeah, you know what, Alan? We have met the flaw, and it is you.
Well, exactly, and he knows what he's doing. It's problem, reaction, solution. They create the crisis. Now everybody's freaking out. The public's ignorant about economics, so they're believing the guys in suits, and Bernanke says he'll fix it with accelerating the old model, a new Bank of the World that will pay our carbon taxes to, and they're going to jack up world taxes and not let there be these cash sinks, these tax avoidance countries, and the bankers, they will have, they're openly announcing a Bank of the world government run by the same parasites.
Exactly. Are we going to a break?
Yes, long segment coming up. We kind of have our breaks all stacked up together there. Amazing information, amazing book, TomWoods.com. Find out more. You can simply get his book in all your great bookstores everywhere. Meltdown, a free market look at why the stock market collapse, the economy tank, the government bailouts will make things worse. And they are. And how worse we'll discuss on the other side. They're going for broke. Stay with us. Infowars.com.